Limerick Today on Limerick's Live 95 FM with Back of the Net, reviewing all the weekend sports action inside today's Irish Daily Mail. A big read for a small price.
Now, have you ever wondered how you should handle people? Get them to do what you want to do in work, organise your life and lead the people around you. If you're working as a leader in some shape or form, there will be skills that you've learned and more that could be learned from my next guest. Robert Kiely started working in Dell in Limerick and has gone on to become Director of Operations at PCH International. He's currently living in China, but he's with us now in studio this morning. Good morning to you, Robert.
Morning.
What prompted you to write this book? And explain as well the title, the book that could not be written with a line through the word not.
So I suppose we'll start with the title. Goes back to our own UL here in Limerick. I was working in Dell. We had some opportunity to get a bit of training done. And we went out to UL. We had about a couple of weeks training there. And one of the lecturers put this challenge down. There was no one book that would teach you leadership or teach you management. So he more or less put that challenge to me, and in the back of my mind I said, well, someday I'll definitely give it a go. And at the time when I was struggling to come to grips with, which a lot of people do, from being an individual contributor to being a manager overnight, you know, you want really to grasp onto some practical advice that you can use. You're surrounded by theory. Leadership gets 470 million hits on Google if you put it in. You know, how do you deal with that? You just want some practical advice. So I said someday I would deal with really practical advice, with some stories, with some lessons learned, all the mistakes I made over the years, and put it into one book, such a practical angle for people to hopefully they could use. Because
I suppose people often become leaders in their work almost by accident. Okay, maybe they're looking for a promotion, yes, but that's because perhaps they want, you know, more money and to move up the ranks, and they forget about the fact that they're going to have to lead other people under them and how they're going to do that.
It's very common. A massive transition takes place. I mean, how do you don't change as a person. You're still the same person you were on Friday, and yet you're the boss on Monday. How do you deal with that? How do you work with your colleagues that were your friends maybe on Friday? And these can be tough challenges. And you know,
tell me about your first time, the first time you became a leader.
My first day was in Dell. We got promoted, a group of us, to line managers. And again, it was really busy times. Everyone knows the Dell story, like 400% growth quarter on quarter, incredible stuff. Just, you know, I had 2 people at the start, and by the end of that year, there was 36 people there. So my first day, we were told to come in with shirts and ties, and I think I write a little bit about it in the book. I forgot to iron my shirt, and of course I had the creases down the front.
Just straight out of the packet.
Straight out of the packet, right. So,
and what about the tie? The
tie, of course, had to be a Windsor knot tie. And I didn't know how to tie a Windsor knot. I had a schoolboy knot, and I got given out over that. So it was just, you know, those things you feel that you have to change, you know, who you are when you become a leader. And of course, the reverse is completely is the right way to be. You just stay who you are, be yourself. And
did your relationships with former work colleagues or the work colleagues who you say were your friends, did those relationships change? Did they see you differently? Did you see them differently?
In the beginning, yes. I mean, you're told the old school method of, you know, distance yourself and all that kind of thing. But thankfully now I'm older and wiser. But yes, at the start, it is difficult. People resent you. Some people resent you. Some people are very happy for you. It's a mixed bag of emotions that you do have to deal with every day.
Do you think a leader does have to distance themselves from?
I personally believe no. I think now it's all about collaboration. It's all about working together. A happy team. People come first now.
So you can still go for a few pints with
absolutely
the people that you are now the boss of?
Absolutely. I believe you can. It takes a bit of skill.
What happens, you know, when you're a boss or a leader, sometimes you might have information that you can't share with your work colleagues, you know, that you're working over. Mm-hmm. Or, indeed, they have the perception you have that information, but you don't actually have it, which is more often the case. Does that not create a separation in that friendship?
I think it's all about how you position it at the start. You know, I think you have to sit down with your team. You have to agree with your team that, look, there will be times where I'll have sensitive information, or there will be times where I won't be able to tell you the full story. And I think once people understand that, or that you'll be forced to make a tough decision sometimes, they understand that is your role, then it's actually okay. They're okay with that. You just say, look, I really can't talk about that right now. You know, it's actually okay. They're no, okay, fine, sorry. They'll almost apologise back to you for going too much into the details, but you know, I think it's how you set it up, set expectations clearly with people up front, and then you won't have a problem.
So how long did you stay in Limerick, and what led to your move to China?
So, let me start. I left Dell in 95. I was there from 91. I was employee 166 at the beginning. Buddy Griffin and company were there in the beginning of 91. I went to Intel in Dublin. I worked in Cabletron. From that, I went to Tellabs in Shannon. And unfortunately, Tellabs closed their gates, I think, in 1990. I think it was 1998 or 1999 when they closed. I went to Boston Scientific in Galway. I went to Pfizer in Dublin, and then from Pfizer I'm in China now with PCH.
And what's that like, working in China? Completely different culture, I'd imagine.
The culture is incredible. It's very different. Very different how you manage people. The ethos is different. The thinking is different. There is a very much of a command and control culture in China. The leaders say and the workers do. Very little challenge opportunity there for the workers. But now it's all changing. It's really exciting to see the change happening now. Where they're thinking for themselves. There's creativity. There's this whole belief in themselves. There's a massive energy there. It's really exciting times over there.
And have you learned anything from working over there that you think could be of benefit here to the way we do work in Ireland?
I think it's the entrepreneur culture that they have. Definitely, I think we could take a leaf out of their book. We tend to wait for the big company to come for the 400 jobs, but I think a lot of what they do over there is individual, and they will create stuff themselves. They'll create a little mini business, and they'll thrive, and they'll grow their little mini business. We tend sometimes, I think, rightly or wrongly, to wait for the big news break, for the 500 jobs or the 600 jobs or the big company to come in to satisfy the need. Is it easier, though, to start up a business in China? I mean, do we have the red tape culture here, which makes it difficult for people? There is, unfortunately, the bureaucracy element here to get through that over there. But I would think still the ideas, I meet so many people that have great ideas over here. Limerick is fantastic people for creativity. Just listen to your previous guests and stuff like that with things that are going on in the city. It's incredible. It's so proud to be coming home to a city with all this going on. City of culture and all this, So I think there's massive creativity in Limerick, and if we could just harness that and just take that extra jump and just go for it and do it, I think it'll definitely pay dividends for people. You tell a story in the book about when you were working for a company and it was March and you had to reach a certain production level, and because it was March there was an extra holiday in the month, and your boss, who wasn't Irish, was getting very nervous that you weren't going to meet the production requirements. So tell us what happened there and how you dealt with it. Yeah, I think I know the story you're talking about. So like in any company, you have deadlines. And these are the choices you make as a leader. It's the business or the people. And my book very strongly advocates all the time the people come first. If you look after the people, your business goals, your business metrics will take care of themselves with a little bit of leadership. But in that particular case, we have to come in on an extra day, which unfortunately I think was St. Patrick's Day, that we needed to come in. And, you're appealing to people on your national holiday to come into work. It was a very difficult time. How did they react? There was a lot of pressure. Some favourably, some not favourably. We did get dedication. Again, the people in Limerick are very dedicated when they have a goal in mind. Nothing will stop them. So once we explained the situation, we had some people obviously had family issues and stuff and they couldn't. But in the end, we got a crew that came in and we did what we had to do and got us back on track again, which again is Limerick all over, What's the most difficult challenge that any leader can face? Is it personality or, difficult personalities, or does it come from top? I think it's the balance between managing the business and managing the people relationships. That's the tough one, because you can have very challenging goals which can cause a lot of pressure on people to deliver. And then managing those relationships and looking after the person's work-life balance and that as well. That's the trick, I think, trying to balance both. You are the proverbial sandwich in the middle. And if you get that right and you work really well with your team, then you will deliver results.
I suppose it's getting the balance maybe between, having the softly approach sometimes makes for a very happy workforce rather than being the dictatorship. But then some feel that if they go take the softly approach, then people start to,
take advantage.
Yeah, give it an inch and they take a mile. I mean, where do you avoid that becoming a problem?
I think you have to deal with it case by case. So, I mean, your team is a group of people. 90% of them will be fine with your direction and what you've set out, with your expectations that you've set out. But there's always the one or two that will challenge. And then I think you just have to have that conversation. I'm trying to do something here and, I don't really appreciate sometimes when you say this or when you say that. You have to have that kind of honest conversation. And usually, in my experience, it's all worked out fine. You sit down with them, you just clarify the situation and people are fine. But again, usually that comes up when you're promoted within your group and people still see you as your friend and colleague. You have to have that sit down again with them and just clarify it. I had an article just recently there in the journal.ie on the very same subject, how to manage that and how to look after that. And
is that the most difficult thing for a leader, the one-to-one conversation?
I think it can be at the start. It's like anything, cycling a bicycle or anything like that. When the first time you do it, it's nerve-wracking. But after, a while, you sit down with people, you understand the sequence, and there are little hints and tips you pick up through different courses and stuff, how to do that properly and effectively without, damaging the person's character or confidence or anything like that. And usually works out good. I've been very lucky so far.
Life in China, are you happy there? Do you enjoy it?
I love it. The small things, the weather, for one.
Okay, on a day like today, I'll give you that one.
The city of Shenzhen, not many people know it. It's north of Hong Kong. It's nearly the same population as Hong Kong, nearly 12-13 million people there. It's a tropical climate, so it gets quite hot. It's about 35, 36, feels like 44. So a lot of aircon around. But I love it. The food can be challenging. You get chicken served with the head and all that, which can be
chicken claws,
chicken feet.
They're a nice snack over there.
Nice snack, yeah. So that can be challenging, but overall, I think it's easy. You can have the expat life, or you can live the local life as well. It's a growing, really, really growing city, really, really fast. It'll have the second tallest building in next year in the world, 660 metres.
Many Irish there.
There is in the PCH where I'm working now. We've got about 30 or 40 over there. So we all kind of course, stick together and look after each other, and it's a real family kind of spirit. So it's fantastic.
Would you follow the GAA games and all that kind of thing together?
We get to see them, but the time difference can be challenging. So we've had a couple of 3 a.m., 4 a.m. In the morning times to watch Munster matches and things like that. So, but we get there. Yeah, it's about 8 or 9 hours time difference ahead. So it can be challenging, but we do our best.
Okay. Well, the book is called The Book That Could Not Be Written, or The Book That Could Be Written, whichever way you want to look at it. It's by Robert Kiely, and I assume available in all good bookshops.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you to Robert Kiely.
Thanks a lot.
Limerick Today on Limerick's Live 95 FM with Back of the Net, reviewing all the weekend sports action inside today's Irish Daily Mail. A big read for a small price.